what do you think some of the triggers might be that would start that?
To trigger a better outlook on
Yeah, this implosion. Do you think it will be like a court case in Germany on the bonds, or do you see that?
Depends on which one you're talking about. You're talking about the euro is going to go, then you need a trigger. You're saying the euro is going to stay, then you don't really need a trigger. Things just muddling on, and so it depends on which wheel you subscribe to, I guess. Yeah.
Do you think it will muddle on, or do you think that
if you subscribe to euro will survive, then I think it will muddle on. Yeah, that's the only outcome. Right? I think if I can rephrase your question, it becomes what does the governments collective need to do to bring the confidence to a level that they think euro will survive? And I don't think we have the confidence level at that point yet.
Sure.
So of course it could go totally the other way, as Professor was suggesting. Euro could vanish in the future. Yeah.
But it's really hard to predict a trigger, because if it was predictable, it would not be a trigger. I mean, if people were, so a trigger has to be something unpredictable, and then suddenly everyone react to it. Otherwise, problem is confidence. I mean, it's like the financial markets. And politicians talk about the financial market and confidence of the financial market. The problems, I mean, are real economic, problems.
It's not a currency problem.
It's not currency. It's not the monetary policy of so and so. It's not setting the interest rate. It's real. And unless you get confidence that the real problems will get solved, it will muddle up. So,
but that doesn't mean nobody thinks that, do they? That nobody has any real confidence that the problems are going to be solved, do they?
I think Mexico was better devaluing 30% and then start afresh. Currently the economic situation is catastrophic, the rigidity, the disparity. At least if something happens, the problems will be partly solved. So the value should be higher because the economic situation is better, which is why Mexico devalued in your case. I think confidence will not be restored until we see signs that the economic issues are truly addressed. And that's why the Italian, they have this wonderful technocratic government. And they have announced a lot of really wonderful ideas and plans and laws. But now it gets into parliament. And then in the parliament. So I would agree it is. I mean, I'm not saying it's 100%, but in order, the probability of implosion, but in order to be credible and for confidence to come back, you need the Italian to truly implement what they have promised and not simply ask for another delay. So it will take time, and people are looking for real step taken. And right now, who is the highest paid deputy member of Lexco or whatever, the equivalent parliament senator in Europe? Italians. They get like twice as much as German parliamentary people. They don't want to go and work in Brussels because in Brussels they get less paid than in Rome. So a sign would be if they cut the salaries in half. Things like that. So then we start believing.
I totally agree. If Greek left the euro 2 years ago, I mean, the world would be much better. I mean, that's an easy piece of hindsight. But on the other hand, I also believe sweeping the rubbish underneath the carpet is totally viable. That's what the U.S. did, and it works. Okay, it depends on how big a carpet you have and how much rubbish you have. Confidence is built upon not seeing it. Okay, but something very difficult to assess is the politician's agenda and the will, and that's something where you cannot use an econometric model to predict that. Yeah. And I also think another thing are happening in so-called chaos theory, in the sense that each stakeholder or party do a small step, but collectively they don't know what the outcome is, and they're all interlinking each other. So maybe everyone thinking we are going that way, but at the end, when they add up all the actions and reaction, they turn out to be in the opposite direction. So it's very hard to gauge in that sense.
So are you just sort of sitting tight and waiting? Are your investors in terms of your investments? You are safe harbor, storm harbor. I'm sorry, storm harbor.
I think if volatility is cheap, I would just buy volatility. I am not trying to take a directional view. I would just buy volatility if volatility is cheap. Yeah.
Well, maybe we should open it up. There's got to be some questions from the audience here. Ask our two experts here. Here in the back.
We are not only trading among us. We trade with China. We trade with India. We trade with the rest of the world. So the cost of going back to liras, pesetas, Deutschmark is unbelievable, I think. At this stage, it should be years ago then. Or they should have thought better maybe when they set up the European Union. I agree with you. But at this point, I believe it's really, really late.
Bank bashing. There's a lot of bank bashing going on since 2007. Mm-hmm. It keeps going on. Like if you talk about Spain, okay, people say, oh, Spanish banks are in difficult situation. That's not true. That's mostly these kind of regional savings bank, like that have the problem, like Bankia and so on. Most of the Spanish banks are quite reasonably well managed and so on, and it's true of certainly of Italian banks and even French banks and so on. Okay, Northern Italy have been buying, let's make it simple. They've been buying BMWs and they've been buying Mercedes instead of buying Fords or other cars. Now let's assume the lira, the euro, the Italian euro devalues by 20%. Is that going to be changed? I don't think so. I think the German would still be selling cars to Italy because they are the better cars compared to others. I think devaluing the euro, Italian euro, is going to be good for the Italian economy, not bad, but good. I mean, right now Italy, is having difficulties. I think it's going to be positive, not negative. The British pound has been going up and down. Lately, it went down quite a lot. And so what? I mean, they're still buying BMWs, maybe less because the state of the economy is not so good. But I think this emotional link, the Germans are benefiting so much from this situation, I think might be a bit too extreme. I think they don't see it that way for sure. So I'm not sure they're going to be volunteering to pay for France, for Italy, for Spain, for Greece, for Slovenia. The cost, it's going to be costly to move back to many currencies. Yeah. But the financial cost, of just the system itself is nothing. The cost of a devaluation, we talked about it, is for people who are borrowing for the corporation. It has benefits and problems. It's both. I mean, it's not easy to manage. I think most people will be able to manage. I mean, 10 years of the euro is not sufficiently long that people have forgotten having currencies that keep going up and down. I'm provocative. I mean, of course, I'm very provocative. But I really don't think it's the end of the world. And I really think it might be better than wait. Right now, the European banks are in a difficult situation. Not because they're losing money, but basically they cannot move anymore. They cannot do anything anymore. They're just blocked in any development. They cannot do any more development. It would be good if they could, again, be dynamic.
And some of our European colleagues are very pessimistic on the situation. They even predict there will be war happening in Europe. Do you think that will ever happen?
There's some people who have been looking at the correlation of equity market, stock price correlation, over the past 2 centuries. And they found that whenever there was a stronger correlation, right after that there was a war. Now the explanation, they are historians, financial historians, and explanation about that is that the economies get more interconnected, so it's very competitive, and economically there's one country that dominates that is better than the others. So the only way to get out of this problem is war. You're losing on the economic front, everything is getting more interconnected, and the better, so you go war. So that happens like every 50 years or so. So it's time. We haven't had a war. I don't know. I just